Welcome to the No Camps podcast. I'm Sonny G,
I'm Akash.
I'm Jason.
and today we've got Game of Thrones season 7, episode 6,
Beyond the Wall.
Beyond the Wall. Jason, you said you had some thoughts about the last episode that you didn't get to mention.
Yeah, it was just like a couple things that I just thought of like throughout the week, and there was just like a few things that we just didn't mention. Something stuff like Gendry and Arya. I forgot that they know each other, and I forgot that they were like together. So I'm kind of curious. Like I can't wait to see that kind of unfold because it's going to. And then we were kind of talking about like what was Gendry's point. What was his purpose? Like,
Right.
why was he there? And I think we forgot to mention, he's a smith, and they need to build weapons, and they're going to eventually need to build more weapons. So, that's kind of a purpose that he serves too. And I think that'll eventually play out because that's like the only real skill other than fighting that we know of his. And
Yeah,
then,
that's true. Never thought of that.
Yeah, good point.
and then also I thought, just like kind of funny, why doesn't everyone just go to Essos? Like the White Walkers are north, and they obviously they walk super slow. It takes forever to get anywhere. Like, why don't they all just sail to Essos? Like, how long would it take White Walkers to get to Essos?
Wait,
I
the
don't-
White Walkers should go to SS or the people?
No. I'm sorry, humans, people.
Yeah, okay.
They should go to Essos. And like, why doesn't anyone talk about we should flee if the White Walkers are here and they're going to take over? Why don't we just go to Essos and wait this shit out, and we can kind of regroup and plan in Essos? And I don't know, how did the White Walkers even get to Essos until the end of this episode? Now that changes things, but that I was just thinking, like, I don't know why that's never really, or why we've never mentioned that. Just leave Westeros.
So, Jason,
What are your thoughts?
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. It makes too much sense, right? So let's disregard
sense.
it.
Well, it's kind of like saying like, oh, shit's bad in this country. Let's just go to India or
Right.
China,
Right.
right?
All right,
I'm
it's a little
Indian,
different.
and
It's
I
like-
wouldn't even go to India.
I mean, do you think would you just pack up and leave your house that you've lived at for over 20 plus years? Or would you fight to defend your land? I think
Yeah.
the latter.
Well, if there's a crazy long winter coming and White Walkers coming, and we have no known way to beat them, then I don't think it's a bad strategy. It's not like this is my neighborhood and I don't want to lose my. No, this like the whole continent that I live on is about to be a snowy apocalypse, and maybe it's not a bad idea to take a little cover somewhere else and screw all the sentimental attachments and save my life. That might be a good idea too. I'd like for that.
Yeah, but
Well-
only 2% of Westeros actually knows of the impending doom, and the 98% don't believe it, don't want to believe it. As we saw in the last scene with the Maesters, they refused to even acknowledge. I mean, not refuse to acknowledge it, but they were very hesitant to take action.
And there's also a theory that the north of Westeros connects to like the eastmost part of Essos, and that it's all one continent, like on a globe. But on a flat map, it looks like Westeros goes up and down, and Essos just goes left and right. So it's possible that it's all connected.
They would get there
It wouldn't
anyways.
matter
They would just go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's
there's also-
that's the answer I wanted to hear. Yeah.
There's also parts of Essos that are not mapped. In the map the book has, there's like a wide, vast area that's even further east that gets alluded to in the books, but no character really ever goes there. It just kind of, it's portrayed as kind of a wild, wild west, dangerous part of the world that no one really goes to. But Jason, to your point earlier, I mean, this is a book spoiler, so you've been warned. It's interesting. I'm reading the 5th book, and due to the disruption of the slaving that Dany has caused, in the books, slavers actually started by chance. They ended up at Hardhome, saw the vast number of people trying to flee, essentially told the men that they would save the women and children, boarded thousands of them, and they enslaved these people. So the Hardhome has now become, in the books, a huge market for slaves. They mentioned there's still thousands of people there ready to be
Wildling
enslaved.
slaves.
Yeah, wildling slaves.
What, really? Wow.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah. So, Jason, any more thoughts you want to wrap up on the last episode?
No, those were it. Those were it.
Sweet. Then let's dive in. Opening scene. We see the Fellowship of the Whites marching north of the wall on their way to pick up a white. And the first...
Sorry, Sonny, before we go in, what was y'all's general reaction before we actually like go scene by scene? I want to know just your like, where do you place this, like, before we go in?
Best episode of the season. Hands down.
Yeah, I would agree with Sonny. This is like episode 5, but with a lot more action. Again, each scene is dripping with character history, interactions. Everyone's meeting each other, finding out more and more. We're learning more and more, which is great. I would put this in my top 2, if not 1, for this season. Yeah.
That's interesting. I had like really mixed reactions to this one. Like I thought it was both a really great episode and like a subpar episode at the same time.
Yeah, there are some points to that I'll agree, and we can elaborate as we wrap up the recap.
Yeah, I take back what I said completely. It may have been, it's definitely the most action-packed, but I took a lot of issue with the dialogue going on just north of the wall before all the action started, because it just kind of seemed forced. Agreed. It was like a round robin of like, oh, you two haven't seen each other in a while. You guys go have a conversation.
Yeah, they all like paired off on each other throughout the whole walk. Yeah, they each got their moment together. Yeah, I totally agree.
I wanted to save this for the end of the episode, but just being as general as I can, it felt like this episode kind of exemplifies the issues people are having with the season. I think the showrunners had in mind certain large set pieces that they wanted to execute, and the moments to those set pieces were a little bit muddy. And to Sonny's point, I think some of the dialogue wasn't great. Some of even the character decisions left me questioning why they were doing what they're doing. But I think the showrunners had, hey, I have this amazing set piece I want to shoot, and maybe something George R.R. Martin outlined, for his how this whole show is going to end. We need to have this huge battle here, blah, blah, blah. Just getting to those scenes felt a little bit muddy to me.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, now can I start, Jason?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So first scene is Tormund and Jon talking, and it seemed like the big takeaway from this scene, which probably influenced Jon's decision later in the episode, is Tormund saying, "Oh, you've been spending too much time with the wildlings, and you forgot how to kneel." And Mance Rayder had a lot of pride. How many people died because of it?
Right.
Died. Excuse me.
They're really making that a point this season. I like it. I mean,
yeah, it's like a third time that's been alluded to, right? This season.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah.
Because I mean, overall, all of these actions by a small group of highborn people are affecting millions of common folk. This whole war of the Five Kings, the war in Westeros, how many common people have just been left to suffer? I mean, a key example is that father and child that died in the cabin from exposure and lack of food, right? It's just these highborn people need to swallow their pride and save the millions. I think that's a great point. I've been highlighting it over and over. This is the third time I think we've heard this specific line alluded in this season.
Yeah, that's a good point. But what I also like about that whole scene is just it also reiterates how funny Tormund is. He is just hilarious.
Agreed.
He's a hilarious dude, and I like how he's like, down south it smells like pig shit, and John's like, yeah, you never been down south. He's like, how's that Winterfell? And he's like, that's not south. And
that's the north.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Like Tormund is just hilarious.
He's very crass. I like it.
Yeah.
Even later,
we'll see that come up again.
Yeah.
So next scene is Gendry whinging at Beric and the Hound. Most of these scenes are just kind of comedic, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they don't add too much backstory. But I don't know. It's just, I guess, funny to talk about.
I will say, Sonny, I mean, kind of in these scenes, the lead up to these scenes, it had some beautiful, beautiful shots. I think this was filmed in Iceland.
Mm.
I don't know how it was shot, maybe on a dolly or something, but it kind of just loops around them walking through this crevice in between two mountains, and a lot of these shots I could just screen grab them and use them as wallpaper on my background. It's just very beautiful. Or even put them up, frame it and put it up. It's very well done.
It was very, very Lord of the Rings esque. Those long sweeping shots of just people walking.
Yeah.
Kind of the same except in the snow.
When we get to the later scenes, I want to address this a little bit more, but I paused and counted the number of people on this journey, and I counted 10. There's some bad math that was happening this episode, so we can get to that when we get to the later scenes in this episode. But
I actually think that there were 13.
13?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the scene right now. I'm counting
so.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Which scene is that?
The very
When they're
first
all in a
scene they're
circle?
tracking?
Oh.
No. Very first scene as they're walking in the north. Like, this is just, the show just opened up and it's kind of tracking them.
Yeah, it's inconsistent for sure.
Very inconsistent.
Yeah, because there were 7 last episode, right? It was 7 of them walking out. Or that's what they panned over.
That panned over.
Yeah, but
Not just that. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but I think 3 people died 3 or 4 times consecutively. Like, there were people there that died in scenes previously that died again, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
so we just
have convenient extras.
Yeah, convenient extras.
Well, they had to bring some red shirts,
Right.
Some polar bear fodder.
Right.
So, okay. Next scene. Jorah, John talk about Long Claw, and he offers it back, but Jorah refuses.
Your father gave me this sword. Changed the pommel from a bear to a wolf. But it's still Longclaw. Look, man, a moment. Thought you'd never come back to Westeros. But you are back. And it's been in your family for centuries. It's not right for me to have it. He gave it to you. I'm not his son.
I brought shame into my house. I broke my father's heart. I've forfeited the right to claim this sword. It's yours. It'd serve you well. And your children after you.
Yeah, the only moment of Jorah I really like. That was a good moment for Jorah. I liked that he gave it back. Yeah, but these scenes, I mean, like you said, it's not like a whole lot. I think a lot of these scenes are just, they're doing a really good job with like fan service and not in a negative way. I think they're doing a really good job of like, there's a lot of questions that a lot of people like us have, like, oh, I wonder what they think of that or what they think of each other, or like Gendry and the Brotherhood, now that they're together, they're going to address that. So they're just kind of doing all of that, which isn't necessarily like moving the plot, but it's like thickening the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to give Gendry some closure as well. Why the fuck did you do that to me? Like, and you finally get to confront them. And this is Jon confronting Jorah. I mean, he was one of the last people to see his father alive, and Jon is very honorable and presents his sword back to him. And this is just more character development. I mean, you really see so much more of Jon. I mean, we already know he's brave, he's very honorable, but it's just reiterating those facts.
Yeah, agreed.
So now we get a break from north of the Wall, and we head back to Winterfell.
Oh wait. So sorry. I forgot. There's something in my notes that I just saw. Jorah gives back the sword. Jorah gives back the sword to Jon, and he goes, "May it serve you well and your children after you." And I think at that point, it was like, because he was like, well, I shunned my house and I gave up the right to have the sword. And I think it was kind of meant to be, yeah, this sword to him represented like his family legacy. And, he wants John now to have his own legacy. But then they're also playing at the whole John and Danny romance. And they mentioned multiple times in this episode that Danny can't have kids. So I just think it was a really interesting and really funny that they're talking about his kids and his legacy, and they're kind of building this romance with, a woman that they're claiming is not going to have a child.
You think Jorah is subtly hinting at, like, I'm kind of bowing out. He accepts that he's never actually going to get Danny. He sees, the sexual tension between the two, and it just basically kind of him acknowledging it at that point.
Yeah.
Although he also knows that Danny can no longer have children, so I don't know what he's really alluding to.
I just thought it was very interesting, choice of words for this episode.
Agreed.
Now can I move on? So Arya and Sansa are talking at Winterfell, and Arya brings up the letter and calls out Sansa, and then they just throw jabs at each other about their roles or lack thereof in preventing what happened to their family.
Father used to watch us from up here. He wouldn't say much. You probably don't remember you were inside knitting all the time.
I remember.
One time the boys were shooting arrows with Sir Roderick. I came out here after, and Bran had left his bow behind, just lying on the ground. Sir Roderick would have cuffed him if he saw. There was one arrow in the target. There was no one around, just like now. No one to stop me. So I started shooting. And every shot, I had to go up there and get my one arrow and walk back and shoot it again. I wasn't very good. Finally, I hit the bullseye. Could have been the 20th shot, or the 50th, I don't remember. But I hit the bullseye, and I heard this. I looked up, and he's standing right here, smiling down at me. I knew what I was doing was against the rules, but he was smiling, so I knew it wasn't wrong. The rules were wrong. I was doing what I was meant to be doing, and he knew it. Now he's dead. Killed by the Lannisters. With your help.
Her dialogue was brilliant. You just think she's being nostalgic and remembering a cute little memory of her and her father, and then she's like, the father that you betrayed, just drops hammers on Sansa. So what we thought is basically happening. Littlefinger's pitting these two against each other, and it's kind of really sad that Arya is just being used as a foil against Sansa, where she has so many more other talents that I think we could use for her this season rather than just be a drama point between her and Sansa. I just feel like it's a little bit wasted. Her characters are wasted a little bit.
Yeah, well said. I agree. Totally agree. And I think it's kind of annoying that Arya just is so blind to what's happening or how it's happening, and how Sansa, even later in the episode, confides in Littlefinger, and it just, I don't know. I don't like their storyline, or like where it's going, and I don't like how easily that they're just like willing to mistrust each other. I don't know. I agree with you. Like they're way cooler characters, and I wish it was more than just a drama point.
I think some other analysis I've been seeing has been suggesting that they're back together again, and as much as things have happened to them over the last couple of seasons, they are still roughly the same people that they were before they left. So like Arya is still kind of jelly at Sansa for being like your classical medieval, woman, right? Or growing up to be that kind of woman.
Right.
And Sansa, I think, might be a little jealous of just how independent Arya can be, if she was ever jealous at all. She's now, I think, feeling a little like, okay, you're like way more independent and like sturdy, I guess, of a person than I have been. But yeah,
Sansa also doesn't really know what Arya's been through, and in Sansa's mind, she's like, "Man, I was a prisoner of the Lannisters, then I was a prisoner of Ramsay. This little girl has no idea what she's talking about. Just shut up."
Yeah. Which that gets put to rest a little later, right?
Right.
Pretty easily.
But I don't think she's wrong. I don't think Arya had that type of mentality that she wouldn't have survived. She's right. She would have fought and she would have died, and she wouldn't have played the game the way that Sansa learned how to play the game. But then likewise, Sansa could have never, walked in Arya's shoes, and she could have never gone to Braavos and learned to be a faceless man. So I don't know. I think they both have something to prove and teach each other, but they're just falling for Littlefinger's plot.
That's true. They're going about it like in a very roundabout way.
Right.
If they just kind of just confided in each other about the shit they've been through, this would all go away pretty quickly.
Yeah, just have a heart to heart. Get a little bit of mead, a little bit of wine, and just spill it.
Okay. So next scene, maybe one of the best scenes of dialogue in this episode. The Hound and Tormund talk about Tormund's girlfriend, who doesn't know she's dating him yet.
No, it's pussy for me. I have a beauty waiting for me back at Winterfell. If I ever get back there. Yellow hair, blue eyes.
Tallest woman you've ever seen. Almost as tall as you.
Brienne of Tarth.
You know her?
You're with Brienne of fucking Tarth.
Well, not with her yet. But I see the way she looks at me.
How does she look at you? Like she wants to carve you up and eat your liver?
You do know her.
We've met.
I want to make babies with her. Think of them. Great big monsters that conquer the world.
How did a mad fucker like you live this long?
I'm good at killing people.
Really funny too. Tormund doesn't know what a dick is, but he's
I guess they just don't have that word.
Yeah, it's so funny. The vernacular didn't make it north of the wall.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I bet you do.
I liked it.
It's really fun to see these guys interact. They're both badasses in their own right, and I think the Hound has a point of contention against Brienne, right? Whereas Tormund is deeply in love with her. It's a good contrast as well.
Cool. And then the last winter scene in this set of winter scenes is Jon and Beric talking about, just, hey, you were resurrected, so was I, dude. and then just talking about their general duty and their inability to understand God's will.
Yeah.
Which, like, who hasn't been there, right?
Right. Sonny, you summed it up perfectly. Jon mentions, I died. I didn't see the Lord of Light when I just came back to life. I don't know what my purpose is. And I think they both agreed that their purpose is to defend, I guess, a realm against anything that would do it harm. Isn't that the phrase of the Night's Watch?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, protect the realms of men. I thought it was kind of interesting, though, because when Beric started talking, he said something, the enemy always wins, and that's why we must keep fighting.
Right.
He's talking about like this death is the enemy, and this is the first and last enemy. And I don't know, it started off kind of cheesy, and then at the end of his little speech, it kind of became clear, like, okay, well, what he's really talking about is like he dies and keeps coming back to protect other people from death, and that's kind of been John's whole mission. The entire show is he's kind of just the protector, which I think is why everyone likes him. He's just the natural leader, right. And maybe that is his only reason to come back. Is he may die, but he was brought back so he could protect everybody else from the White Walkers. So it started off like I was like, oh, this is kind of almost cringy, but then it was like a really good scene.
I think, Sonny, do you have anything to add to that?
No.
I think the scene ends with the Hound pointing to the Arrowhead Mountain, and he's saying, "This is
That's
what
right.
I saw in my flames."
Actually,
think we're
that is
heading
what
in
I
the right
wanted to
direction.
mention, but I forgot it was this scene. Yeah. Because someone on Reddit, I think I mentioned this in an earlier episode, that they point out that Arrowhead Mountain is the same mountain that was in the background of when the Children of the Forest are creating the Night King.
Right.
Yeah.
So it could very well be that the place where he was created is like really close to the land of always winter where the White Walkers live.
Yeah.
And that it could just be on the other side of that mountain, had they been able to go further in that direction.
Not to jump ahead, but did they make it to the Arrowhead? The final scene in this, the final battle scene, does that happen in that area? Do we know?
I think it happens in some lake at the base of that mountain.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, another point, like you bring up, and they talk about it a couple of times. This is the first time I really thought about it. Like Jorah mentions like the dead and the White Walker, or he mentions the White Walkers only really being like the king and his generals. So I don't know. It's like, what is the nomenclature for the White Walkers? Are like the people get risen? Are they just considered the dead because they're the army of the dead, or are they White Walkers too?
Those are whites.
Whites.
Oh, okay, they're just whites. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the guys, the head honchos, those are the White Walkers. So there's only like a handful of White Walkers, and then there's just a bunch of whites. Is that the proper naming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Cool. Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification.
No problem. Next scene, Dany and Tyrion are talking back at Dragonstone. And Dany's all like, "Oh, all these people, they want me. Drogo, what's his face?
Jorah.
This guy,
Dario.
Jon Snow." Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Basically
she's just
solidifying,
immediately forgetting his name.
really solidifying the fact of her true feelings. She gives him that
they're
little
really pushing
shy look, like, Tyrion, what you talking about? But
He's not in love with me.
We know.
Yeah.
He's like, "Girl, it's so obvious."
Yeah, but it feels like I like it, but it also feels weird again because they are related, and it also feels a little forced. Like that line felt like out of line in Game of Thrones for me. Just like so overtly talking about, "Oh, you think he likes me? Is that what you're thinking?" It's kind of weird.
She's playing so coy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
This whole season, her acting has been on point.
You think so?
With the eyes, her just a lot
Yeah.
without saying much. She's able to
Right.
pull
I
that
was
off
thinking that
really
too.
well. I have a lot of respect for her as an actress. She does a very good job.
Have you seen
Well, and I
Terminator
also think-
Genesis?
I mean, just in terms of Game of Thrones, I haven't seen
Okay.
any of other work.
That's cool. Yeah.
Gotcha. What were you going to say, Jason?
What's cool is like at this point, there's like so much that we know about the characters and so much that they change. And I was thinking how hard it must be, or if it's harder or easier for like the actors at this point to like portray that kind of stuff. Is it easier for Emilia Clarke to be Dany, and because she's like such a badass, as a character, she's such a badass, and you can't help but like her. So like when she has these little moments, I don't know if it's easier to think that it can be cheesy, or if it's easy just to like fall for anything that she says and does. Because I think you're right, Akash. Like most of her acting is like in her eyes and her eyebrows. She has those like really expressive eyebrows.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just like at this point I just love Emilia Clarke and I'm just down for whatever she's doing, or is her acting just that good, and is it more or less pressure for these actors at this point to pull off emotion?
I think I get what you're getting at. Like some actors can get by just on the fact that they're charismatic and not really have any acting chops.
Right.
I think she does have acting chops. I mean, granted, I haven't seen any of her movies or any of her work outside of Game of Thrones, but within this role, I think she does a really good job, and especially this season because she's had a lot more screen time, I think, comparatively to the other seasons, because we'd have to split time between so many other story arcs, but we really get to spend more time with Dany now, so it's time for her to shine, and she's doing it very well.
True.
Yeah, but back to the scene. So this conversation kind of gets heated, right, Sonny?
Yeah, because then they start talking about Cersei, and how they can't trust her. And Tyrion makes a great point, which I think just applies in general to like leadership and politics, which is that Cersei's power is derived from fear, which all that ends up really doing is just creating a group of people under you who just can't wait for you to fall.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's given the opportunity to allow it to happen with relative certainty that it will happen, they'll step out of the way and just let it happen to you. Right. So Tyrion doesn't want her to end up like that.
It stems from her discussing about are we setting any traps, for when they meet. And this scene I think is just stems directly from the scene between him and Varys, I believe, and how he needs to kind of tame her, bring her in, start thinking more logically than being so hot-headed. And I thought this is a really good scene. Peter Dinklage again does a great job of nailing this scene, and they eventually discuss succession, and she's not having any of it. She gets really upset and kind of shuts down and closes off the entire discussion.
Yeah.
After you break the wheel, how do we make sure it stays broken?
You want to know who sits on the Iron Throne after I'm dead? Is that it?
You say you can't have children, but there are other ways of choosing a successor. The Night's Watch has one method. The Ironborn, for all their many flaws, have another.
We will discuss the succession after I wear the crown.
Your Grace, I saw hundreds of arrows fly towards you when you fought on the Blackwater Rush, and I saw hundreds of arrows miss. But any one of them could have found your heart and ended you.
You've been thinking about my death quite a bit, haven't you? Is this one of the items you discussed with your brother in King's Landing?
I'm trying to serve you by planning for the long term.
Perhaps if you planned for the short term, we wouldn't have lost Dawn and Highgarden. We will discuss the succession after I wear the crown.
Which is kind of weird. I don't know why he brought it up.
Yeah, Sonny, I was gonna make a
think
point.
he's just.
Do you ever get into
sorry.
arguments with either your siblings or your friends, and by the end of the argument, you're not even arguing about what it is initially you got upset about. It just like devolves into something else, and it becomes like a petty conversation, kind of.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say this is petty, but it kind of jumped into the secession, and she got so upset. I think she kind of put Tyrion in his place too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a premature conversation, so it sends the wrong message if that's what you're thinking about, right? When you don't even have the throne yet.
Agreed.
It's like not that I have any reason to distrust Tyrion. It's just bad. It just sends the wrong message.
Yeah, I think it's basic conversation etiquette with the queen that you don't discuss who's succeeding her before she has a throne.
Especially when like it's almost a given that she can't have kids, right? I think it's almost like a well-known known.
Yeah, they bring it up again in that scene. But I like that Tyrion brought it up in a way. I mean, first off, we discovered it was somewhat timely because she ends up risking her life at the end again.
Yeah.
But he is right. It is like the long-term plan. And I don't know, he really sells the idea that he is following her and believes in her and her vision for the future. But I think you're right, Sonny, especially because she already kind of questions him a little bit in his loyalty to his family, which I kind of miss. I wish at this point, I really wish that scene wasn't any type of like contentious scene. I wish it was just them just shooting the shit and having fun, enjoying the fact that, they're kind of winning the war. I miss the funny, drunk Tyrion, the witty Tyrion. I kind of wish that there was a lot more like playful banter with Tyrion now, because now he's a lot more serious.
I almost do think it might be too soon for him to have that playful banter. I think, the number one thing on our mind is getting that throne, and any other discussion can wait till after that's been done.
And his last two decisions have put her at a severe disadvantage.
Correct.
I mean, maybe not objectively disadvantage against Cersei, but like in a way less a good a position, right? With the fall of Highgarden, the failure to get anything of real value after capturing Casterly Rock and then losing the fleet, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, the room. There's no real room in terms of Tyrion's her trust in Tyrion for him to be dicking around.
To me, this is almost as good as
Yeah, it's
playful
true.
banter. This is really good back and forth, and
Yeah,
it's kind of showing us behind the scenes how it works. Like I mean, excuse this phrase, but it's like a boardroom, right? That like how decisions are made behind kingdoms, and yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I guess you're right.
Yeah. Next scene, awesome scene, polar bear skirmish.
Yeah. So they spot, I mean, in the distance, a polar bear, and Gendry's like, do polar bears have blue eyes? Like, what?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And that thing is fucking huge. Like, I didn't know polar bears actually got that big.
Yeah.
Unless they grow when they're dead and turned into white. So yeah, that was hardcore. They lit it up on fire, which was awesome. Seeing Thoros and Beric jerk off their swords. So it's so fast that it catches fire. It's insane. And then apparently, like, even lighting up on fire was not enough to make it freak out and stop reacting. Right? It was a stab with dragon glass that killed it
to the head. That just killed it. I mean, the scene, a couple of things stuck out to me in the scene. Again, Jon's bravery. This dude sees a polar bear just demolish a guy out of the blue, and he runs after where that polar bear would just went to find nothing but, bloody footprints and a spear. And that shot was awesome when he gets his sword out and they all form a circle. I thought that was a really cool shot. And then we also see how afraid of fire the Hound still is. Like, this dude basically freezes up.
Yeah, exactly.
That shot was awesome. With the CG polar bear on fire staring at the Hound, and the Hound just kind of doesn't do anything. And Thoros comes to save him and ends up...
Jorah.
Oh,
that was both of them.
Thoros, yeah.
Thoros
jumps in the way and then puts the sword in the mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
My bad.
Yeah.
No, and I'm counting. There are 12 people in a circle from that overhead shot.
Okay.
Plus the one that died right before they did that.
Okay.
So that's why I think 13 people total.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Cool. And then we move on to Baelish talking to Sansa.
Did that last scene not bring you guys horrible flashbacks from the Revenant at all?
Yeah.
That was brutal, man. And the guy just gets up shortly after. He sears his chest with a flaming sword.
With the flaming sword. Yeah, that seemed a little far-fetched that you could just get up from, like, a brutal bear attack like that. But yeah, you're right. It did remind me of just, like, that ragdoll scene from the Revenant. Yeah, that was nuts.
How was the quality for you guys? I mean, was this scene easy to take in visually? Or
no,
they really sold the fact of like how severe of a blizzard it was, right?
Yeah. The whole time I just had mixed feelings about the bear. So I was just getting over the bear itself, because I was thinking about I guess the horses that they ride on are resurrected horses too, right?
Yeah.
So we have seen animals before that are white walking animals, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because the whole time I just got distracted by that. I was like, man, have we seen? It's just like a really crazy way to get introduced the idea that like animals can be arisen just by just getting attacked in the middle of this blizzard. And, it was just madness. But I don't know. And for me, it like right when I saw that, the ending got really clear. Like the final scene that we'll get to. Like I thought that was the whole thing I could think of the whole time was like, okay, well, that's definitely going to happen now.
Yeah, that's could have been why they included it. It's just like a friendly reminder that, hey, this can happen. So get your juices flowing because something else pretty similar might happening.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting concept of like it's not just humans that this is affecting.
Okay, the next scene, Baelish and Sansa are talking, but I didn't really understand it.
I mean, I think he's just plotting again.
Yeah.
I think he's just trying to. This is advancing his motive on pitting Sansa against Arya. He mentions that Brienne is sworn to protect her. You can have her take care of Arya, basically. Although there
But
was
it all stemmed.
sorry,
It all stemmed from that. It stemmed from that note, right? About going to King's Landing.
Yeah.
That's where it all started from, right? So, do you think that note's real?
Yeah, I think it is real.
But what is it asking?
I think isn't it asking for everyone to meet so they could see this? I mean,
Is it to see the White Walker that they're going to bring to King's Landing?
A white, yeah.
Okay. I wasn't clear if that was the intention. Yeah, so they're just like preemptively saying like, "Hey, these people are going to bring back a white. Meet us in King's Landing to check it out."
Right.
Okay.
But are we jumping ahead? I think in this scene specifically, Baelish is just Sansa's confiding in Baelish, saying that Arya has this and she could try to fuck me over. He's playing coy and saying she wouldn't do that. That's your sister,
Yeah.
And I don't know. There was a lingering shot on Sansa's profile here where I want to so badly believe that she's one step ahead of him, but the look on her face makes her think that she's thinking of something else or plotting ahead, or she's just being sucked into his plan. I thought it was a really brilliant shot in that moment.
No, I'm pretty sure she's getting suckered.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, and I was wrong. That wasn't the scene with the note, but I was kind of curious there because that's when Baelish introduces the idea of like, well, maybe Brienne can be an ally, like maybe Brienne can uncover. What was he saying? Like, could learn what Arya's doing or protect you from Arya.
I think she was saying you could sick. I think she was saying you could just sick Brienne on Arya and have her killed, and I think she saw them sparring and he kind of knows how versed Arya is with the blade, so it's kind of knocking out two birds with one stone, and maybe they mortally wound each other or something like that.
I see.
Okay. Yeah, because then that's kind of weird that she sends Brienne away later.
Yeah, I think Jason, that's connected. Maybe Sansa does kind of see that Baelish is plotting this between them both, so she sends her away, so she cannot be used against them both. I want to believe that Sansa thinks that this family's been divided and separated for so long, like she doesn't want to continue doing that.
Yeah. Or I feel like I just want her to be smarter, at the end I want her to be the one that's been like, tricking Baelish the whole time. Even though I know that's not going to happen because Baelish is too clever.
Okay, and then next scene we're back north of the Wall, and Jorah and Thoros catch up about their invasion of Pike. So I assume this means this was during the rebellion that Pike had raised after Robert's rebellion, right? Where they wanted to try to be their own kingdom.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but not much to add there, right? Because we barely know anything about that rebellion aside from that the Greyjoys just wanted to rebel, right?
Yeah.
And
I think this scene solely was just to follow up on last episode when Jorah mentions he knows Thoros. And it's a question that we kind of got down to the bottom of when you looked it up, and
that, and it's also the last time we actually hear Thoros talk, I think. Or say anything of value.
Right. He mentions he was drunk the entire battle. Doesn't remember anything. He's essentially a drunkard. Yeah.
So that this actually may have ended up just being his goodbye scene.
Right.
Because it did seem like he kind of knew what was coming.
Right.
But yeah. Okay. Then
which is sad because I like this character. It's sad that we're gonna. I mean, they're not killing off any of the main characters, but now they're killing off all the secondary characters.
So
how convenient.
Leading up to that, what are they doing? They're just kind of creeping on them. They see a group of whites and White Walker away from the main group, I guess, and they plan a surprise attack. Yeah.
Yeah, they lay a bait of a campfire. Yeah. And then Jon seems to be able to take out that White Walker pretty easily.
Yeah, pretty effectively.
And we learn that when you kill a White Walker, the whites that they've turned go with them. which is kind of strange because I don't know if we ever saw that at Hard Home or if it ever came up.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've been inconsistent there.
What's more strange is that there was a white left alive, so I'm assuming that White Walker didn't turn that white. I mean, that's the only logical explanation in that scene.
Yeah, exactly.
It just all felt too convenient. There was just a small enough battalion that they could, creep up on, and now that we just conveniently learned that these millions and millions of White Walkers, well, we don't actually have to kill all of them. We can just kill like a handful of them, which will kill all of them. And then right as we found that out, all of them die except for one, and they just so happen to be looking for one on his own. I thought that felt really convenient.
I would say that part's pretty convenient, but considering how close the rest of the army was that they were rolling with, it seems like that was probably just like a scout troop.
Yeah, that makes sense, honey. I think I agree with you there.
A scout unit, yeah.
Yeah, so this scene told us two things. It helps our heroes understand that they need to essentially target the White Walkers to defeat this army.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it, right?
Yeah. What was the second thing?
I forgot what the second point was.
Okay.
Actually, the white they needed, right? They got the white they needed.
Yeah.
So their mission north is being accomplished.
That's when I mentioned at the beginning, this is one of those muddy moments. We just kind of had to lead up to the next set piece, which was epic, but there was just, like we talked about it, there's a couple of little holes here and there, but especially with that last white not dying, so we have to make an assumption that that White Walker has no control over that specific white that they capture.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I also like the scene with they have Gendry, right? They send Gendry back. Right when that happens, right when they hear more of the whites.
Yeah, they take his hammer and send him back.
Yeah,
they take his hammer.
He's supposedly the fastest out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that because that's like, not to go into Greek history, but that's they had like the runner from Marathon go to Athens and he passed out like right when the Persians came. So I liked it. It was kind of like a nod to history in a way.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Hey man, George R.R. Martin's a fan of history.
In particular, a fan of Greek history.
No, not at all. But this might just be. You might be dabbling.
Okay, and then so when they get holed up in the middle of the lake, they see the Night King and some of his other White Walkers with him, and Beric mentions that nope, these are the only people we really need to take out. And then something comes up about the Lord of Light, and the Hound says the only Lord he's known is a cunt. So I have to mention that.
The Lord brought you back, and he brought me back. No one else, just us. Did he do it to watch us freeze to death?
Careful, Beric. You lost your priest. This is your last life.
I've been waiting for the end for a long time. Maybe the Lord brought me here to find it.
The Lord I've ever met's been a cunt.
Yeah, this scene was
crazy.
This scene, the whole lead up was crazy, where John just starts. I don't know. Did he hear something or did he feel it? And he's like, "We got to get the fuck out of here ASAP."
You could hear like a faint screaming, like a whining in the back.
So that white, before they covered up his head, that's like a signal. You think?
Oh, with that screaming?
Yeah.
That was doing? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, distress call.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as they flee, I thought the ice breaking added a really good tension to the entire scene. It was well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it just perfectly set them up to be completely surrounded and pretty much being starved out.
Right.
Okay, and then Sansa, she gets the invitation to King's Landing and sends Brienne instead.
Right.
And
being kind of snarky about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just mentions that she doesn't need to be looked after or taken care of,
Right.
Do my bidding.
And she's like, "You better get going. These aren't summer roads, you know."
If you want to make it at all, you should be leaving soon.
Right.
Yeah. Which is cold.
Oh, Thoros also died. We skipped that part.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh, was it there that he dies?
Yeah, he dies before we get to the Winterfell scene.
Oh.
Yeah, that was sad.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, and they burn his body alive as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now like the Hound said, like that moment too, it's like, all right, well, nobody's coming back to life. Yeah, the priest is dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just this is your last life, Beric. You better live it well. Your priest is dead.
Well, even
Sounds
John,
so
you know,
much like a video game.
Yeah.
It's your last life. Make it count. Yeah. Okay. Then Dany leaves, and Tyrion begs her not to, and she's like, "Last time you told me not to do things, shit did not go my way, so I'm gonna go do something.
I'm gonna do my thing."
Yeah.
Her outfit looks so badass too. This is like her winter
Yeah.
coat, which looks so cool.
All of her outfits this season have been great. Sansa's outfits have been great. Actually, like literally everybody's has just been on point. Yeah. Just looks so stylish.
Agreed.
But dude, right at that scene, man, when she took off, it was so beautiful. Like great CGI again to see like the three dragons just launch off of the cliffside and Tyrion just left there.
Yeah.
But I don't know about y'all. I was just screaming, you know, just like why are you taking 3? You know, why are you taking 3? You know, so now I don't know, just you knew what was gonna happen now. So why'd you have to take 3 dragons?
I wanted to believe, man. I was just like, at this point, I was so hype, and
yeah.
Did you suspect one of them would die?
I didn't. I was praying. I was praying, legit, for 5 minutes. Like, don't let them die. Don't let them die. Don't let them die. Don't let them die. And
yeah.
Yep. So Dany arrives and one of them dies.
Well, before she arrives, this is an awesome battle scene. The freaking lights start advancing towards Jon.
Yeah, because the Hound pretty much gives them the go ahead.
Right. Hounds
that was cool.
Stones.
That was a cool way to introduce it. Yeah, that was a cool way to introduce the idea. It was thick enough to walk on now. You know, just throwing stones and that just sits there, and you could almost see like the White Walker process in his head. Like, right, yeah, I can walk. Great, and it just goes that for. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, and then the Hound called him a cunt too. Yeah. I mean, that was. I want to know how much a Hound cunt counter for this series. I want to know how many times that dude has said the word cunt in this show. It's incredible. And it's still funny.
Maybe that's what I'll do this weekend.
Yeah, could you get on that?
60 hours.
Yeah, this battle scene was awesome. You get, again, really claustrophobic towards the end. And the music, you know, cues up with the feeling of hopelessness, and they're surrounded, and there's a lot of good tracking shots where they jump between character to character. One of them is seen pulling the white backwards, and then they get caught up in a battle, and then someone else comes in and pulls him, and
then Tormund almost dying, and the Hound coming in and rescuing Tormund from death. That was really cool.
I was convinced he was gonna die.
Me too.
Same here. I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he didn't die, though, that was when I realized, like, this is, you know, they've kind of given up on the old Game of Thrones way. It feels like, you know, no real serious character. Yeah, I mean, Jon almost dies 3 times in the show. He gets like rescued or saved 3 times consistently in the show. In this episode, it's like right there when he has White Walkers to the front, White Walkers behind him, and then when Benjen comes. And then when he gets out of the water, you know, it was like 3 times, and like makes it all the way to the gate. It's like 3 times he should have died, but he didn't. Like one episode, I don't know, it was too much.
And then when the dragons show up, they have that awesome music that comes with it. You know, whenever they have the dragons, I guess it's like Dany's theme or whatever. But
that's exactly it.
Dude, had me so hype, and at that point I was like, "Oh yeah, let's go!" But I didn't really start.
And the way that it looks
at that point, I started getting scared when I saw the Night King grab his fucking
Spear.
Spear.
Ice spear. Yeah.
It's not believable. It's just not believable.
It's not believable.
It's not.
Yeah, this dude can
that
chuck a
part is not
spear that fast and hard and hit a
Yeah,
dragon
you're right.
in there.
You're
Like,
right.
who
The
is
guy
this
that's bringing people back from the dead totally
Yeah.
couldn't, just chuck a spear into the air. Kill
He
it.
doesn't have time to work out that much. Yeah, he's
Seriously.
not that strong.
He's brittle
Yeah.
as fuck.
That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
But
But I
man-
loved the way that the dragon fire looked when it was hitting the ice and it just like instantly like melting the ice, and it was just like was churning up the lake that they were over. That looked, again, like the CGI, the money that they're spending to make these effects look, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and more importantly, it's cool because you could see how 3 dragons would actually fight in a battle.
Yeah.
It's just pure death and destruction.
Yeah.
Is it the first time we've seen 3 of them fighting? No,
At
I
least-
guess
at least in this size.
Slaver's Bay we saw, yeah.
Yeah.
They were,
You mean
Yeah.
the Bay of Dragons?
The Bay of
Excuse
Dragons,
you.
Yeah.
oh, the Bay of Dragons, right.
We've rewritten
Sorry.
history.
Shit.
They're called the Bay of Dragons now.
I will
Damn it.
admit,
Maybe get woke.
when I'm not sure, is it Rhaegal or Viserion that died?
I'm pretty sure it's Viserion, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
There's the green
Yeah.
one, like I predicted.
The green one is
Like
Rhaegal.
you predicted?
Yeah, I predicted it. I said the
No, you
green one's going to die. Yeah, I did.
Then
Did not.
Rhaegal died then. I think it would have been
Oh.
more fitting for. I mean, ideally I would have had all 3 survive, but I think it'd have been more fitting if Viserion died to kind of mirror the death of her brother as well, he was named after Viserys. So,
Right.
because he's got gold
Right.
markings and whatever. But man,
Yeah.
that death took me out of the episode for a solid 15 minutes. I was just really upset. I was really
Me
upset.
too.
It's just
Why?
the CGI this season has been so unbelievable, and this dragon, dude. Like I've got a freeze frame right now of when it's falling into the water.
So sad. The
And it just
the
looks so
sound,
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sound,
Yeah.
the screeching sound it makes. Yeah,
It's just bleeding out as it's crashing into the
Yeah, that
ice.
was so sad.
So sad.
I mean, I think it affected me more than most of the human deaths in the show, which is really weird because,
Agreed.
like, you don't really get to know the dragon all that much, but
Yeah.
he's still so amazing. You want to see him survive.
Well,
Yeah, and I loved it slipping into the water.
A big
Mhm.
part of it too is like dragons are not a usual thing in this world. Like when something's so magical and I mean they're basically extinct, right? When something like that dies,
Yeah.
it's just a deep sadness that comes with it.
mm-hmm.
Well, I think, did you see the men, like Tormund and those guys, like, they've never seen a dragon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so suddenly they see 3 of them. And not only do they see 3 of them, they see one of them die. It must have been just like such a roller coaster of emotions for those guys.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. Do we know what happened to the second dragon after that one? I felt like it just fled away from the battle. when
Yeah,
it
it looked
saw-
like
Oh,
he
both
was
of them
far
came
away.
back.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but in that moment, I think they just show him flying away or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
You see him in the distance flying away.
I was really
love that-
hoping. Yeah,
Mhm.
sorry, Sonny. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I love that when the dragon gets hit by the spear, it explodes in flames.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you hit a jet engine, or like a jetliner or something like that. Like, and because it's going down, it's bleeding out, but you also hit it right in the fire pouch. The
Yeah.
fire maker.
right.
Which is something I don't know. Like, I can't remember the last time I saw a fake dragon die on screen, but it's just something new.
Dragonheart. Yeah. I'm just sad.
Do they blow up like that too?
I don't remember. It's a pretty terrible Sean Connery movie, like from the 90s. So I don't really remember.
Well,
Yeah.
Smaug didn't. Smaug just
Oh, yeah.
took it and whined about it.
was-
Whinged about it.
Half
That
hoping
dumb cunt.
that John was fighting off the whites while everyone boarded Drogon. I was half hoping that the second dragon would pick up John and he'd ride it out, which
Yeah,
I think
same.
would have been a far better scene and moment rather than bringing back Benjen only to have him die. Just to
Yeah.
cut that character's story
Yeah.
arc out. That was
Oops.
a waste of a scene, man. It would have been
Yeah.
more effective if we could see John jump on the back of the second dragon and fly out of there himself.
Well, I feel like they also had more reverence for Benjen in that scene. There was like a little darker moment in that like long eye contact with John, like right after Benjen dies. And it felt like there was more reverence than the dragon, and it was like I cared way more about the dragon than I did about Benjen. And like I don't know.
I did
I don't know if you guys said the same.
the biggest eye roll when Benjen showed up. It's like this is just so ham-fisted just to end his arc, you know? It's such a waste.
Again, the plot armor on John. Just he was not going to die there, so somebody had to get him out. You know, I was also like for a half second I was thinking again because like the plot armor of these main characters. I was like, what if by crazy chance that they just killed the Night King, like right here, the dragons just scorched the Night King. And now the Night of the Dead like the Army of the Dead are done. And so, like now the next season, like they're over. What if they just ended that storyline like just last night or whenever? Yeah, right there. That was it.
That's what I was hoping for. You know, when John sees, I mean, are we gonna just go with Rhaegal? Let's go with Rhaegal, so we're not saying both of their names. When we sees Rhaegal drying, I thought you could see the look of anger on John's face, and he started to charge towards the Night King until he saw that he had another spear, and he's like, Danny, get the hell out of here.
Yep. And then
again, showing how he's such a badass, John.
Oh, such a dude. He's so brave, so strong.
And he gets
awesome.
dunked in the water, and he still somehow comes out alive and barely breathing.
Yeah.
Does armor weigh nothing in Westeros? Like, you know, they were able to get Jaime out of that deep river, and then he can just swim after being like dragged. I guess armor is weightless in Westeros.
I don't think John is wearing armor.
Yeah, I don't.
And and Bronn is the one.
He's not wearing any armor.
I think
John. No, I think he's just wearing shitloads of furs.
Yeah, you know, there's leather armor, then there's like metal. I think he's just wearing like a leather kind of armoring.
He doesn't have like the leather covered armor like Sansa was referring to when she was walking around Winterfell a couple weeks ago.
Maybe then. Yeah. But that's hilarious. Benjen shows up. Hi, Benjen.
Bye,
Get
Benjen.
on the horse. Bye, Benjen.
And it's the least effective weapon ever. Just like a chain with a ball.
Flaming chain. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like 95% of the U.S. collectively eye rolled during that entire scene.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Then let's see. Yeah. Then Danny's got 1,000-yard stare, looking over the wall, just processing everything that happened. You know, both confirming that the White Walkers exist, that the Army of the Dead is real, and that she just lost one of her kids. And she sees John arrive.
Yeah, was she more sad of her losing the dragon, or do you think she was more sad of potentially losing John? Because I felt it seemed conflicted in the show. Because that your immediate reaction would be like she's sad about the dragon, but she almost seemed more hopeful that John would come back than sad about losing her child.
That's how I read the scene, Jason. I felt like she was more sad about John. I really wish they set some time aside for her to mourn, because like. She talks about how this is her children, how much importance she has towards them, and the death is just disregarded like it's just some nobody, you know?
Yeah.
Well, she does kind of cry about it at the end, and John holds her hand to console her. So they kind of use that as a device to like bring them closer.
Yeah, dude. And then now we learn why the writers have not been having them confront or share the story of John actually being stabbed, and it's so that she could be shown instead of told, right?
Yeah.
Amazing, dude. This is a powerful scene. I had like something in my eye during the scene. I was kind of I felt it was a strong emotional scene, and again, back to her acting with her eyes, you could just see everything there. So, fuck, dude, you got fucked up.
Yeah, dude, those are some brutal scars, man. Those are like some weeping scars. But yeah, I like that they showed it too. Yeah, because I was always so angry that they never like got to that dialogue. But it's definitely worth it for that one scene.
Yep, seriously, total payoff.
Yeah, it was great. But I mean, for all the unsubtle moments in this season and in this episode of just straight on, like getting right to the point in their dialogue. Like this was like a very rare and awesome, like subtle moment.
Mm-hmm. Really well constructed throughout the season.
Agreed.
That inevitable like conversation, which didn't even have to happen, which is like the best. Like in film, they teach you, right? Show don't tell. Like this is the best example of show don't tell I've seen in a while.
Why tell me when you could show me? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so
and it packs so much more meaning and emotion and power than it ever could have if he was just like, oh yeah, they stabbed me for the watch.
So
yeah.
Based on her facial reaction, what do you think was going through her mind?
I just think it like reaffirmed her suspicion, I guess, of him just being like such an honorable guy. You know, all the guys around her have just been such yes men, and you know, like all the, especially the men around her. I mean, I guess not Khal Drogo, but yeah, I think for her this was just like reaffirming the fact that like this is like a really different breed of guy. You know? And you know, he's brave and he's strong. He's a good leader, and he's sacrificed himself, and he's clearly, I don't know if she knows how he come back from the dead, but he's clearly been through something and still like on the front lines trying to save his people.
Like he's legitimately a man of the people.
Mm-hmm.
It proves to them.
He's the man version of what she wants to be, you know, she's completely self-sacrificing and leads by example. So I think she saw that.
Sonny, what about you?
Yeah, I think she realized that she's not just messing with some guy that's been trolling her, you know, and denying her what she wanted. Like this guy, he's got fucking real scars,
right?
For the shit that he's done for his people. So when he says that he's like, I'm not gonna bend the knee because my people don't want me to, it's not just some fucking honor pride thing. It's like he was stabbed in the heart for his people.
Yeah.
So yeah. When he says he's not going to do it for them, he fucking means it, and it's not just about him.
Right.
Well, and now she's seen the White Walkers. She's seen the Army of the Dead, when she was still skeptic, you know, even towards the end. And so now I think she's also seen what he's been through, and I think it's just the weight of his journey. Just she could like feel it in that moment, just seeing the scars on his chest and stomach.
Right.
Yeah, true. Cool. Next episode. Fucking. My English. Next scene, Sansa's digging through Arya's shit and finds the masks, or the faces, I mean.
Why is she in here? Why is she in her room? What is she snooping around for?
I don't know what she's expecting to find. Yeah. Something, I think, that'll help her learn more about Arya. But she gets way more than she bargained for when Arya catches her and then pretty much just like plays with her. As if she was gonna fucking kill Sansa, which she totally could.
Yeah.
She basically implied that she would. Yeah. She's like, I wouldn't
say would. I'd say could. Yeah. Like I think Sansa left that being like, all right, I've seen what you can do with a sword, but now I actually fear you as a person, not just a person with like a weapon. Like,
well, and
I don't know you anymore.
Dude, that was a crazy threat. It wasn't even just like I have the power to kill you. It was like I know how to mimic faces, or I know how to mimic voices and personality. All I need is your face. And it's like, I could make you disappear, and no one would know you disappeared.
Yeah,
you know,
I have the power to be you.
Yeah,
which is crazy. So that
is such a crazy threat.
I had a hard time really understanding the big is it just kind of a to close off the original scene with Arya and Sansa's confrontation and just kind of put this a neat little bow on their relationship now?
I guess. I think I don't know. I don't know if I know what you're talking about. Can you repeat it again?
So I'm wondering, what was the purpose of this scene other than just to show that Arya has a lot more power than Sansa thinks Arya does? Is this kind of just wrapping up the earlier scene or their argument between each other? I didn't understand what the full crux or the point of this interaction was, other than for Arya to scare Sansa. Is that the only thing? It could not be any more deeper than that. It doesn't have to be, maybe.
No, I think now that I think about it, I think this is the easiest way to kind of dance around explaining what happened to Arya.
Okay.
Right.
in a way that is significantly more meaningful to Sansa than if Arya was to just say, "Hey, I went to this temple, and then these people taught me how to do this, that, and the other." You know, I think it played out in a way that really made Sansa believe Arya, and believe what Arya is capable of.
Maybe Sansa will
yeah.
try to use some of Arya's skills to, help them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's quite possible that that like sharing it in this way not only makes Sansa fear Arya, but also truly to a greater degree understand what how Arya might be useful to Sansa. Yeah.
And once again, the Valyrian dagger comes into play. She hands Sansa the dagger. So this has gone from Littlefinger to Bran to Arya, and she's now handed it off to Sansa. Didn't really understand the point of that either. If you could, do you guys have any thoughts on that point?
Yeah, I think she just handed it to Sansa because she handed it to Sansa and then walked out the door and didn't even turn back. So I think that was almost her way of testing Sansa too. She just threatened Sansa clearly and had the knife, and then gave it to Sansa and turned her back and walked away. And that was like, what are you going to do about it, bitch? It was one of those moments, And
yeah,
it was a test whether or not Sansa was intimidated, and her not doing anything maybe made her. I don't know. I think that was just a test for Sansa.
Well, I don't think Arya would have expected Sansa to do anything with the dagger, but I think the point was to show Sansa, I'm not scared of you. You know what I'm capable of, and I don't want to hurt you. That's why she gave her the dagger, I think.
Oh, you think she said, "I don't want to hurt you"? I think that was a clear threat, and I think the purpose it served was just to show that there's still going to be a lot more of this tension moving into the next episode, and Brienne's not going to be around.
Well, no, I think if Arya wanted to hurt Sansa, she would have just done it. I don't think she does. I think she wants Sansa to know that she could kill her, and even worse, exactly as Akash said, like kill her and take her place, and no one would know. So here, you take this because I don't really fucking need it. And even I can still kick your ass with you and then 10 other people. So
based on the 3 scenes we saw this episode, do you guys still feel the same way about the whole Winterfell arc? I know we all are a little bit soured on it this season, but
yeah, I still think it's a little weak.
Yeah,
me too.
Agreed.
Yeah. Or it's just not what we wanted. It's like after all of this separation, after all these years, and they're finally together. Like, you don't want to see more division again. Like, you want to see like a strong, united House Stark, and it's just with Jon being gone and then Sansa and Arya being pitted against each other, it's just unfulfilling. Maybe it's better storytelling this way in the long run. For the greater scheme of things, this is the better storytelling. But yeah, as an audience, it's just so unfulfilling. Like, you want to see Sansa and Arya like make up, and like you said, like Sansa use Arya's abilities. I want to see Arya kill Littlefinger and be Littlefinger. I want to see that kind of stuff, and instead we're just seeing this, like, these petty little, sibling fights.
Yeah, they're advancing the story in every other arc except the Winterfell arc. It seems to be going backwards, and it's very stagnant. So,
yeah. Cool. And only 2 scenes left. Next one is Jon and Dany on a boat, and Jon agrees to bend the knee.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wish I could take it back. I wish we'd never gone.
I don't. If we hadn't gone, I wouldn't have seen. You have to see it to know. Now I know. The dragons are my children. They're the only children I'll ever have. Do you understand? We are going to destroy the Night King and his army. We'll do it together. You have my word.
Thank you, Danny.
Danny.
He was the last person who called me that. I'm not sure, was it my brother? Not the company you want to keep.
All right. Not Danny. How about my queen? I'd bend the knee, but
What about those who swore allegiance to you?
they'll all come to see you for what you are.
Really good scene. Might be one of my favorite character scenes this season. Yeah, they brought out all the feels in me.
The emotion on Danny's face.
Yeah.
That was really everything.
I think between the last scene on the boat and this scene, I fully come around to like buying into their relationship. Throughout the season, it kind of felt forced, but I think it's like way earned now.
Totally.
Like even if she had no feelings up until this scene and the last scene, like I feel like those last two scenes would definitely shift someone over to being like, okay, there's something really special about you,
right.
you know.
I think
I don't know. I wouldn't say it felt forced.
It.
Like throughout the season, I don't know if it felt. I think it only feels forced because we like those characters and we kind of want them together. Anyways, I think Akashi mentioned before. They've done a pretty good job of, their connection isn't stemming from like romantic dialogue as much as it is about like just mutual respect for each other.
Yep.
So in that sense, I like that a lot. Like I think their love story is really good, and I don't think it is forced. I just think, you want to see them together, and it was just these were two. They're both the Targaryen. They're the most rightful heirs to the throne, and I don't know. I just think as an audience, you like them and you kind of want to root for them. So seeing them together almost does feel forced because it's like, okay, you could have almost predicted, or this could just be fan fiction. But
I think if not forced, then rushed. Because
I can say rushed. Yeah, I can see rushed.
Yeah. It was really nice to see John apologize to, I should have never gone out there. I mean, he's basically reiterating what every viewer is probably thinking, like, why? Yeah, you went up there and now Dragon's dead. Are you happy? And I think that really, I think that's when we see her grieving, and John grieves with her. Like he feels terrible about it, and that's the first thing he does is he apologizes. And
that's the moment. That's the morning moment you get with Dany over the dragon. She starts to cry because of that too. That was her moment to mourn.
She makes a comment right after that saying, "These are the only children I'll ever have." Was there anything more to that? I mean, is she just saying, "I will avenge my child's death," or was there anything? I mean, besides that statement, I don't know if there's anything deeper.
Again, they're just reiterating the whole her not having a child thing, and it's always in the frame of Tyrion mentioned that she won't have an heir right after they talked about Jon, and now like after Dany saw Jon with cut up on the bed, and now that they're together, it's like it's always framed in this like romance between them two that she can't have kids. So I think that's ultimately gonna play out at the end that either that they're ultimately not going to get together because she won't be able to have kids or I don't know. It's just there's just too many coincidences or too many similar instances where they bring up the fact that she'll never have children, especially with and around Jon.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, again, when Jorah mentioning it earlier with the sword, may it, what does he say? May it serve you well and your children after you. They've brought up children a lot in this episode. I don't really remember them talking about Dany not being able to have children before, and they brought it up multiple times.
That's a good point.
That's true.
Yeah. It was not to detract away from what you're saying, Jason, but I think this is the furthest we've seen them emotionally connect. Right? He holds her hand. She holds his hand, and she eventually pulls away, thinking that. I don't know. Does she think maybe it's not appropriate? They should save this for another time, or? I thought they were gonna maybe kiss.
No,
Yeah,
I
I was
think she got
hoping.
caught up in the moment and realized, yeah, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
We, as much as you may want this and I want this, we're not ready for this yet.
Let's beat
Yeah.
the
Well,
Night
and he
King.
also just said he bent the knee, so I think she's also trying to put her queen hat on, and she's like, no, this is a subject now. You know, I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
I need to be professional.
The way he presented that was great. He calls her Danny, and she mentions no one's called her that since her brother Viserys, and it's like, then how about my queen? And then she starts tearing up, and such a great emotional scene.
Yeah, that's great. It's amazing how much I've completely come around too. Like I'm rooting for this this relationship. You know, they'd be awesome, even though they're aunt and nephew.
I don't get it. I don't. Why did it have to be this way?
I know. I mean, what's going to happen when they find out? They're going to find out. So that's going to be either
eventually.
the next episode or next season. So I'm really curious. Like,
it has to be when, I mean, either Bran has to tell Jon or Sam will tell Jon, and that's how they'll find out. But we don't know when Jon will intersect back at Winterfell. It doesn't seem like he's going back there anytime soon. They're headed back to
going
Dragonstone,
straight to King's Landing.
So or to King's Landing.
Yeah.
But and there was a scene there which set up the Hound. This is before the boat scene, but everyone's converging on King's Landing, so we're gonna see Brienne and the Hound in King's Landing to kind of reckon for that. Because last we saw them two together, Brienne left him for dead, right?
Yeah.
And and maybe we'll get Clegane Bull.
Yeah. All aboard the hype train.
It's got to happen.
Yeah. Cool. And then the last scene, which may have just made this, this may have been the scene that made this episode the best, in my opinion. Even though by a lot of accounts it's not. We get ice dragons, baby.
I just wish they didn't.
This is almost obvious. I predicted this would be I predicted the last shot of the episode would be the blue eye, but this is almost too obvious. Yeah, this is almost too obvious for them not to do this. I mean, you can't fucking leave a dead dragon next to the Night King, man. You know what?
It was at the bottom of the lake. How do they get it out of there? They have like scuba diving White Walkers that go in there, and they're able to. Yeah, they do. Okay,
they kill scuba certified scuba divers, and then they bring them back. So
dead people don't need to breathe underwater.
Are there mermaids in this world too? Are there like White Walker mermaids? Is that a thing?
Maybe.
I mean,
it just felt too like obvious, or it felt too much like a couple seasons ago when we first saw dragons. It felt like one of those things you would say in conversations with your buddies, like, "Oh, wouldn't it be crazy if it became like a White Walker and then there's like a White Walker dragon?" So I don't know. It just felt too much like what a 7-year-old would want from this show. They just gave it to us.
All joking aside, I agree.
I can't argue with that.
It's almost too obvious. And can we talk a little bit about the logistics? So, does an undead dragon now still breathe fire? What does it breathe?
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Yeah.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it'd be.
And does it care about Targaryen blood anymore? Will they only let a Targaryen White Walker ride the thing?
I think the whole Targaryen thing is more of a book.
I think so.
Book theory. I don't think they're carrying that onto the show.
What do you mean?
Yeah, especially because all those guys jumped on the back of a dragon at the end of this episode. Too.
Yeah, like who can only ride a dragon? Like I don't think the dragons can sense it's a Targaryen. Like I don't think that's a thing. They can. Really?
Yeah.
How so? What have they shown in the show to where they know that
we've seen Jon, right?
Yeah. Then we saw Tyrion the same way.
Yeah, and there's somewhat strong evidence to suggest that Tyrion is Aerys Targaryen's son, the Mad King's son.
Sure. Bastard.
And they were pretty friendly with him, Viserion and Rhaegal. So.
Yep. Yeah. But also, I guess now this rules out the 3-rider theory. There's only 2 left.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
Dude,
a TV show.
It makes me so sad.
I don't think those theories are attached to the hip, right? I think you can still have like 3 Targaryens, Dany, Tyrion, and Jon, without having them all be riders. Like, I think that's a little ridiculous, is to expect that they'll all just mount a dragon and all go into battle together. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point next season John needs to take a dragon and one of the dragons lets him ride them into battle, right? Maybe to save Dany or something like that. But
I just
think
don't think in the show there is a you must be a Targaryen to ride this dragon connection. I think that's more of a book thing, and maybe we're kind of projecting that onto the show.
No, but even then, I wouldn't be surprised if that is a thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they would have, at this point, they would have been a lot more obvious about it. With all the time that we've spent with dragons and Daenerys' connection with dragons, you'd think at some point they would have mentioned that, there has to be a Targaryen connection, and I just don't think that they've done it enough or strong enough. And yeah, I mean, we've now seen like 10 people ride a dragon in his last episode.
I'm curious why you guys are saying all this, because there have only ever been Targaryens that have had dragons.
I don't think there's any more secrets like that in the show, because I think the only purpose that would serve on the show is to make Tyrion a Targaryen, just to make a callback to that one scene in that one episode a few seasons ago where he rescued the dragons, and that would be the only real reason or payoff for that. And I just don't think that
for there being a Targaryen dragon connection.
There needs to be.
You have it backwards. There is a Targaryen dragon connection, and so if Tyrion is a Targaryen, that explains why they were so friendly to him.
I think they were friendly to him because he was rescuing them. That seemed kind of obvious.
I mean, he didn't even rescue them, right? He just let them off the chains. But
yeah.
But even then,
he freed them.
Right. But that still has nothing to do with the Targaryen dragon connection. That exists whether or not Tyrion is a Targaryen or not.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right. And I don't think anybody else will ride a dragon other than a Targaryen.
Maybe a solo rider.
Maybe with the exception.
Well, Sonny, what I'm getting at is there hasn't been overt, keep pounding on our head that there's this connection within this TV show. It's been one or two scene allusions to it, but nothing as to they haven't repeated it over and over. You know what I mean?
Okay, they haven't they haven't belabored the point, but I don't think they have to because it's part of the lore, right? Again, like only Targaryens have ever had dragons. So it's not like there's anything that needs to be beat into your head. If anything, they have to suggest something other than that, right? Well, they have to make it sound like other people can own dragons
the Targaryens are the only people that have ever brought dragons to Westeros. I think there are other families in Volantis that have. There's been a race of dragon riders way before Aegon.
In Valyria.
Yeah.
But the Targaryens come from Valyria, and the Valyrians died out, right? So actually, all Targaryens are descended from Valyrians, but I don't think any other houses.
That's correct. I mean, the Targaryens are, I guess, even when they showed up to Westeros the first time, they're an invading force. They were never native to the land. So
right. Yeah, I think if anything, if anything, we'd be seeing hints of stuff suggesting that there isn't a connection between them, and that dragons can have like bonds with people that aren't Targaryens.
I mean,
which I don't think we're seeing.
The logical sequence would have been to have Jon ride away on a dragon, and that would have been a perfect
solidifying
fact from the last episode. You see him touch a dragon, and now we see him right away. But we lost that moment for stupid Benjen Stark death. Like no one,
right? Really especially because right before that, you could see Daenerys reaching out for Jon to get on the dragon. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I was freaking out because I was like, all right, it's finally going to happen. Like Jon and Dany are going to ride this dragon, and then he's the only one that gets left behind. So I agree with you, Akash. It would have been cool to be like, yeah, let's get him on. Everyone wants to see it. Everyone wants to see him riding a dragon.
Completely missed moment, and to me, it would have probably made up for the other dragon's death, like a small, but.
Barely,
I think they really missed a good moment there.
I'm still confused by that. It's not like they're actually riding the dragon. The only one riding it is Dany. Everybody else is along for the ride.
Yeah, they're passengers.
But that doesn't count. Yeah. That doesn't mean anything.
That's like saying like when you drive a car, you're the only one riding in the car, and everyone else behind you isn't, or everyone else in the car with you. They're all riding the damn dragon. Daenerys.
Yeah, but that doesn't make them dragon riders, right? They use ride and drive interchangeably. But what you're
Right.
really talking about is who can drive a dragon.
Exactly.
And the only people that can drive dragons are Targaryens.
Okay, I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
100%
well, if
agree.
anything, the weird fallacy in this last episode is why that spear chucking Night King chucked the spear at Viserion instead of
and
Drogon.
not Drogo.
And what would have been
Rhaegal.
way better, or whoever it was that died? What would have been way better is if like he was chucking it at Drogon or even at Dany, and then another dragon took the hit. That would have been like way more reasonable.
I would have loved to see the
that
spear
would have
flying in the
been-
air, and then John just cut it in half over him. Like John saved the dragon, and that would
That
have
would have
given
been
like
cool,
any
too.
other reason to have loved him even more. You know.
You guys are on point today with your ideas. I love those both.
We should just create our own spin-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's rewrite it.
To your point, Sonny, that would have created a ton more tension if it was aimed at Drogon and you're thinking,
Yeah.
oh no, and it hits Rhaegal or Viserion instead. But I think Drogon again plot armor is too thick for him to die this early.
Yeah,
we still need to
He's just
see him
everyone's
fly over
favorite.
King's Landing.
And not to change too much, but what I loved about that scene is when they fly away, and then, it just barely misses them. Of course, so they weren't going to kill two dragons in one episode, so
They
it
said
misses
better
them.
not.
And
They better not
dude, I
kill
would
any
have
more
stopped
dragons.
watching.
I'm gonna be pissed.
Would have stopped watching. Yeah, but
We'll
when they're
just wait
flying
till
away,
next episode.
they fly away and they're looking down.
Shut up.
And it's like after every battle scene that we've ever seen, there's always a moment after the battle where it's just like looking at the destruction, and you just see people injured or there's always that like aftermath scene. But with these guys, with the Army of the Dead, it's just they immediately started moving on. There was like no moment to weep or whatever. It was just they just got destroyed by dragons, and now they're marching on. And I thought that was like a really cool detail.
No, and some people on Reddit are throwing around the idea that the Night King and Bran are both green seers in their own respects, so that the Night King intentionally lured these people into that lake and lured Dany to bring her dragon so that he could poach one.
Tell me what a green
why they
seer
had their
is.
spears and stuff. Come again?
Tell me what a green seer is.
It's just someone who can like
the three-eyed raven.
Yeah, he's his own version, a dark version of the three-eyed raven. Like, it's just someone who can see all.
Past, present, future.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense. And people even go further to suggest that the Night King is Bran, like Bran from the past, or Bran who like
Brandon the Builder
warged into the past. Yeah, or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what we'll see pan out in the show. But anyways, yeah, that is the episode. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah, that was
It
good.
was so great. Yeah,
Still
great
have
organization.
my criticisms of it on certain scenes, but
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what do you guys
But
think is
this-
gonna happen the next episode?
Well, I saw it in the flames, but I don't think you want me to tell you.
Do you actually
Shut
know?
up.
You actually know?
Well, I guess I won't know until I see the episode.
But you have an
But I have-
idea. You've read those.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Good God. I
Gosh,
really hope-
The
Sonny,
flames are only in 360p, very
Sonny,
low resolution, so I can't
blink-
really tell exactly what's happening. But
blink twice if more dragons die.
Don't.
Oh God, don't
I'm
do
not looking.
it.
I'm not looking.
I'm kidding. Don't blink. I think next week will most likely be in King's Landing. That's my prediction. I haven't seen the previews or anything like that, so we'll get to see Sandor meet his brother. We'll get to see Sandor
Ideally.
meet Brienne. I think that dream that Bran had of a dragon flying over King's Landing, I think we'll see that next episode.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Like the
When they-
silhouette over the buildings. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I'm super excited to see the Dany Cersei interaction. I think it'll be a lot of fireworks there.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's gonna be so. That would be like the highlight of the series, I think. When like if they can really pull it off right and have like a really good pithy dialogue, I think that could be. That might be like that will probably be one of my favorite moments and scenes or sequences in the entire show.
Agreed.
Just seeing those two, like, yeah, that'd be amazing.
So the next
I don't know,
episode is 82 minutes long as well. So we have
Yeah,
a lot of show to watch next week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is so great
Thank
to
God.
hear.
Yeah.
I can't wait. But yeah,
Well,
this
they couldn't
episode
do just an hour,
also
man.
this episode is also the longest episode in Game of Thrones history. Game of Thrones
What?
history. Yeah. 71
Really?
minutes. Yeah, longest.
Yeah, they never really run more than an hour, do they? I mean, were there any others that were over an hour?
Yeah, I thought there were plenty. Like, I thought the one with the red wedding was over an hour. I thought a bunch of them have been over an hour. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Oh, one thing too. It's funny because after last episode,
Mhm.
a lot of people were asking, like, well, and I think we even said it, like, what the hell? Why don't they just fly a dragon, grab a White Walker, and fly out? And I like at the end of the day, like, well, that's kind of what they did. They got the dragon. They got the White Walker and the dragon out of there.
Yeah.
That was a nice touch when Sandor just kind of skewered the white onto one of the scales or the
onto
horns
it,
on
yeah.
the back of the dragon. Hold on tight. The dragon that died looks very small. I'm looking at a screen grab, and his face only comes up to about the waist or the chest of the Night King. He's not a very big dragon. Obviously,
Yeah, I mean,
Drogon's the
neither of
biggest.
them are as big as Drogon.
Yeah, it makes sense though, right? Because Drogon was free, and so he got like all the food and stuff and room to grow that those two did when they were stuck in the cave, right? Because isn't that how the dragons grow? They just, the more they eat, the bigger they get. Like, they don't stop growing.
Theoretically, they never stop growing. They will grow as
according
they
to the
won't be-
lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know what to expect next episode. I just think it'll be super fun. I don't know if we're gonna see Dany and Cersei yet. But yeah, I just hope that they don't. I hope that they don't do what they did with this episode, where they didn't show any of King's Landing in this episode. But I hope that they don't spend just all of our time in King's Landing and then just not develop. Because I want to see what happens with Arya and Sansa now. Even though I don't like what's happening, I'm curious. I want to see it get resolved before the end of the season, and I want to see what happens next with Jon and Dany, and if Jon is this next episode where Jon's going to have to go back and tell his men or tell his northern lords that he bent the knee on behalf of the North.
Right.
I'm hoping that they don't just blow past that, and I don't think they will with 82 minutes.
Yeah, I'm really curious how they tie the season up. If they're just gonna kind of merge the storylines or not even leave a cliffhanger and just kind of jump right back into it next season.
Oh, they're going to leave a cliffhanger.
Yeah. But to that point, though, Akash, I think the reason why a lot of people think that the season's going so fast is because we have these storylines that have merged now.
Yeah.
So you're not cutting away to 6 or 7 different storylines. It's now 3 storylines. So I think it feels like it's moving faster because we're getting a lot more information more quickly about a singular storyline than we ever did before. Because usually with Dany, you'd see maybe 10 minutes in an episode was a long segment with Dany. And then the next episode, you'd see like 5 minutes. But now we're doing like in 20-minute chunks every single episode.
Right.
So I'd be really curious if they can somehow merge all of these together, and we're no longer following like 4 or 5 different stories, and now we're really just following one, and it's just humans against White Walkers. So I'm really curious if this show will ever get to the point where there's a singular shared storyline now.
To me, they almost have to finish this White Walker story sooner than later. They've been dragging it out so long. It's less interesting. It's less interesting than it is when it's the Lannisters versus everyone else. That to me, that plotting and scheming is more of a better storyline, other than just there's a huge threat beyond the wall, we have to kill it. That just seems, there's not much drama there. That becomes a basic B action movie. So
yeah.
But this will be the first time that, or this will soon be the first time that the idea of White Walkers is like widespread in Westeros. And if you remember, the opening of the whole entire show was a White Walker scene. So like they've been hinting that these things exist since the very first second of the very first, since the opening sequence.
Yeah.
And so now it's like at the end of 7 seasons, it's like people might finally realize like, no, this is not a myth. These are absolutely true. This is absolutely real. So it's funny that it's taken 7 seasons for the world to realize that these White Walkers are real.
Sonny, You mentioned last week in the books, Alistair Thorne takes the hand back to King's Landing and is no longer moving. You think they might set up something like that for this, for next episode as well? You think that White will still be kicking and screaming when it gets to King's Landing?
Oh, I mean, if it's not, then they fucking wasted a dragon for no reason.
Oh my god, that would be bullshit. That pissed me off. Oh god, I'm so angry thinking about that.
But I think it has to. I think maybe the idea that it's winter helps too. You know, maybe it's just because it's winter and like the magic of the White Walkers is kind of more far-reaching now. You know,
just thinking out loud, I wonder, man, it would really stink if Dany died against the White Walkers in that.
Oh my gosh. That would have been fucking horrible. I was so afraid of that too. They were kind of alluding to it.
They made that a big thing with Tyrion's discussion. I mean, that would be just terrible.
Then you're definitely not going to want to watch the next episode.
Shut up.
Oh god, shut up. Even just saying that spoils it.
I think he's just messing with us though.
So he's trying to mess with us. So you can really read into it. I don't know. Who's one character that if they kill off, you're done?
Done watching the show?
Yeah, like is there a character that you have that you, or it would just, you know, royally change your point of view on the show?
Drogon,
that's your guy.
That's my guy. I don't care about any of the humans. They fucking killed off all the dire wolves, so I don't even get to see Ghost. And yeah, I don't know. Realistically, probably Dany, man. She's been our protagonist, and we've been waiting for so long. And if she just loses to the Night King, that would suck.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe. I think I'd have to see multiple people die. Like they'd have to kill Jon and Dany and Cersei. So pretty much to make characters. And then leave all the secondary ones around. I don't know. I don't even know if there's any set of characters they'd have to kill before I stopped watching. I just have to know how the shit ends. Yeah. But I also feel like I'm going to be kind of disappointed. And I also feel like it's going to be a decade before the book 7 comes out. So
I know
I'm going to be sitting with any level of disappointment for a long fucking time.
Yeah, the only thing that gave me some sort of consolation with Rhaegal's death is like maybe he's not dead in the books, and he's not dead in the books yet. So that is the true lore. So he's still alive in my mind.
Yeah, I guess if you don't like something, you can just hold on to the hope that they changed it from the book.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me though, man, it's Jon more than Dany. Like I would be distraught if Dany dies, but like for Jon, it's like, well, you brought him back and you've been saving him over and over and over again. Just for him to die at the end would just be like, what was the point? You know?
Especially before he finds out his lineage. That would be
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then Jaime too. I really like Jaime. Like I don't want Jaime to die, but at the same time, it would be kind of cool and fitting if Jaime had a heroic death saving people again. And it would be even more heroic if it was, you know, on misunderstood circumstances, like when he, you know, killed the Mad King. I think that would be kind of cool.
A really cool scene would be to see, you know, Jaime weeping in the corner with Cersei on his lap and his with his knife through her back, and he's just uncontrollably weeping in King's Landing. That would be a great scene to watch.
Yeah, I agree. They could recreate the sequence if they show of him stabbing the Night King, but it's just being Cersei.
You mean the Mad King?
Yeah, guys, it's Viserion, not Rhaegal.
For sure.
Oh, Viserion did.
Yeah.
Was he the green one?
Yellow one.
Oh,
there we go. So it's perfectly matched up with the death of a brother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, Rhaegal is named after Rhaegar,
right?
Jon's father. This is happening.
Confirmed. Yeah, she's got to write it. He's got to write it. Yeah.
Whatever.
It has to be.
Yeah.
All right. Any more comments?
No.
All right, guys.
Wrap it up.
Thanks for checking out our podcast. We recently found a new podcasting hosting solution on Podiant.com, so you can check us out at nocamspodcast.podiant.com. Any comments or any feedback you guys have have, please email us at nocampspod@gmail.com. Anything else to add, guys?
Nope, I'm Senny G.
I'm Akash.
I'm Jason.
We'll see y'all next week.
Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe.
Smash the like button. All right, guys. Bye-bye.